West Ham were dismantled by Liverpool in the opening match of the new Premier League season, but we have the chance to put that behind us as we welcome Bournemouth to the Olympic Stadium, our first home game of the season, 2 games in. Pellegrini named 5 debutants against Jurgen Klopp's side, and we might see a knee-jerk reaction. We're not too sure. Players like Diop, Sanchez, Perez, Yarmolenko sit in the wings, desperate for a start for the new season to prove to the West Ham fans the reason why they were bought. Eddie Howe's Bournemouth, on the other hand, come off a fantastic victory against Cardiff City, and they have made some decent signings themselves. Welcome back to Irons United's YouTube channel. I'm Anton, that's Stell, that's Richard. Richard, 2 games in, we've got our first home game of the season. Last year we played 3 games away, not the greatest of starts. What impact did that have? What impact will this have?
Oh, it was massive, mate. Thank God we're back to normal now and we can have a home game in the second week like every other team should normally have. Last season was just a shambles with the way we started. 3 away games. We didn't start well at all, as you've mentioned, and it just set the tone for the season, really. The fans were annoyed because we started really badly. They were just yearning for a home game. And this season, luckily, we've got it in the second week, so we can hopefully bounce back from the disappointment of the Liverpool game, go to London Stadium full of 60,000 fans that are going to be keen to see the boys do a job. So I'm confident, yeah.
And I suppose that's the same question to yourself, Still. You were at a lot of the games last year, 3 games away from home at the start. But this time, second game in, we come off a terrible defeat against Liverpool. We're up against Bournemouth.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Rich said. Last season, when we had to play 3 away from home at the start, when we lost the game, if we didn't do too well, there wasn't that opportunity to be able to say, right, let's get it right at home. It was just another journey away, more pressure. It just kind of like it must have the fans were upset by it. It must have really put the players off as well. So to have a game that we can put things right at home so soon after, and so right at the start of the season is very welcome indeed. And it's a rare one. It's a 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon kickoff, which is even better.
Yeah, absolutely. Something we spoke about, I suppose, in our prediction videos and Premier League prediction videos was the levels which we believe the league is going to be in. You've got your top end teams, your middle end teams, and then your lower end teams, and we probably seem to all have predicted West Ham were going to be in the higher end and Bournemouth were going to be in the lower end. Does that mean anything though, Richard? And where I'm getting at with this is Bournemouth played Cardiff City, a team that we all have predicted are going to get relegated, and West Ham played Liverpool, who we all predicted will be in the top 4, if not closer, to potentially trying to challenge for the championship. Does that mean anything? Are we going to prepare ever so slightly different because we're coming up against a team that we believe are worse than Liverpool?
Not really. I think both of our starts were completely different. Obviously, as you've mentioned, they beat Cardiff. With all due respect to Cardiff, Bournemouth would expect to beat them at home, as most teams would in this Premier League season. We had Liverpool, who are a polished side, who, in my opinion, are going to be challenging for the Premier League and Champions League this season. The players they brought in are fantastic. So, although they'll be full of confidence after beating Cardiff, I think this is going to be our proper first test that we're going to have. And I honestly believe with the players we brought in, our squad, our team's stronger than Bournemouth's. And I honestly believe it's going to be the kickstarter for our season. We're going to put in a great performance. And hopefully, as Stel predicted earlier, we're going to batter them.
Still, same. I suppose, same question to yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it's this. I agree with Rich. I don't think there's going to be that much change. Pellegrini went out against Liverpool on Sunday. He played a high line. He was trying to get the players to be creative. He had a lot of attacking players on the pitch, and I don't think he'll change any tactics for Bournemouth. In fact, he'll probably bring it on even more. So it is a test. A lot of really decent teams are going to go to Liverpool, teams that are better than us, and they're going to get battered. Yeah. So that wasn't a real test for us on Sunday.
Yeah.
It would have been nice not to have lost by 4 goals again, but I reckon our test is going to be against the likes of Bournemouth, the teams that are going to be teams like Bournemouth are going to probably be looking at us, the money we've invested, and go, they're really going for it. They're going for a top 10, top 7, top 8 finish. And that ironically, we're the sort of team that Bournemouth are going to be aspiring to want to beat, to want to better. So for us, it's a test to make sure that we do put them to bed on Saturday and beat them, and hopefully beat them quite convincingly as well.
I mean, Bournemouth were not quiet in the transfer window. I think when myself and Stell, we'd done the predictions video for the Premier League, they had signed a few what we call championship level players. But coming later on into the window, they did manage to get a couple of extra signings across the window. One was David Brooks from Sheffield United. They paid £10 million for him. And then the Colombian international Jefferson Lerma from Levante for £25 million. So you're looking at 35 plus million on two players that Bournemouth have invested in. So, I'm trying to make it all relative to what West Ham have spent. These two players, one in particular, David Brooks, seems to have caught the eye of a lot of teams, including the international manager for Wales. He had a great performance against Cardiff. He looks like a great find and a great player. And then Jefferson Lerma for Colombia. I've mentioned this before. I've got a little bit of an invested interest in Colombia because one of my good friends is Colombian. He looks like a tricky midfielder. Still, these guys are going to come to the Olympic Stadium. Last year, teams came to the Olympic Stadium and played West Ham because they knew they could probably get something. What's going to be different this year? What's going to be different around the Olympic Stadium that we can portray and let the opposition teams know?
I think the difference is going to be our attacking prowess. I think last season we just didn't have that. We had the players, we just weren't playing in an attack-minded way. And I think that the difference this season is going to be the fact that we've got so much going forward that teams are going to find it difficult to attack us. So, Brooks did well. He set up a goal at the weekend for Fraser, but with the greatest of respect to Cardiff, it was against Cardiff, and if he starts doing it against us, if he starts doing it against the bigger teams, etc., then I'd say great signing. But just as you asked, was Liverpool a proper test at the weekend for us? Brooks, the test for Brooks, the likes of Brooks, is going to be how he's going to play against better opposition. So for us, the difference is going to be the way we're going to attack. We've got a lot of exciting attack-minded players. So I think that's where we're going to improve on last season.
Absolutely.
I think the London Stadium is a bit more intimidating now because teams know they're playing against Emmanuel Pellegrini's side, a manager who's won Premier Leagues, who's played, his teams have played in the Champions League, and they look at the ambition, what we've spent. It's a completely different ball game this season. Teams are going to go there thinking, okay, West Ham have got their act together now. It's going to be different. So I think we've got that on our side.
There's no denying that teams can go into games with confidence, and Bournemouth are definitely going to do that. A player I want to discuss, though, is a striker for Bournemouth, Callum Wilson. At one point in our career, in West Ham's lifetime, we were linked to this lad before he got that terrible injury for Bournemouth. If you've seen his goal against Cardiff, he took it really well. He held off a few players and stuck it in the bottom corner. Is that a player, a young English centre forward that you fear, Richard? Is that someone we need to keep an eye out for when it comes to Bournemouth, or are there any other players? Because before we carry on, it looks like Defoe's obviously missing the game, and it looks like Stanislas is also going to miss the game.
Yeah, Callum Wilson. Look, he's not my favourite player. Let me put it that way for what he did to us last season with the handball and the offside goal and the whole shebang. But he's a dangerous player. There's no denying it. He's a goal scorer. He's got electric pace, and he's going to be looking to get in behind us like the Liverpool team did on Sunday. So we're going to have to really watch out for that. But then again, Bournemouth have pace on the wings as well. Ryan Fraser's blisteringly quick as well. Josh King is also very quick. So we're going to have our hands full, but I'm confident that we'll be doing the ball playing, and hopefully we'll nullify any threats they have in that regard.
Yeah, that's the thing, Richard. It's how much we allow them to play.
Yeah,
I think last season we allowed almost every team that we played. We allowed them to play against us. and the teams that we didn't think we could match, it was just backs to the wall. Whereas this season, I don't think we're. What I'm hoping for is that we're going to have so much possession of the ball, especially at home, that it's not going to give the likes of Fraser or Callum Wilson, etc., to play their game. That's the difference I'm hoping for. And Pellegrini he likes playing good flowing attacking football. So it was different last season. We had Bilic, who just seemed quite lost. Moyes came in and he kind of he did what he had to do, but he played a formation that a lot of people didn't actually like, the 3-5-2. Whereas Pellegrini is going to play a 4-4-1, 4-3-3, whatever it might be. So it's going to be more attack minded.
I suppose the inconsistency last year of everything to do with our club produced a fear factor, but not a fear factor for clubs coming to our stadium. But the West Ham were going to the Olympic Stadium and just they look scared genuinely in every single game. And like you said, Richard, I hope that, and I think and I believe that Pellegrini's one thing he's definitely going to look at is this is our home. We make this our home, and the signings he made, I believe that's potentially one of another reasons why he signed the quality of players that he's got. Let's come on to West Ham then for a while. Obviously we've come off not the greatest of results. We've done a review for Liverpool, but we obviously have to talk about the team. We have to talk about the players and what we foresee happening on Saturday at 3 o'clock. Some questions are maybe to ask, and we'll just get straight over with it. I don't think this one's going to be long. Fabianski or Adrian? A couple of people on social media are calling out for Adrian. Still?
I love Adrian. I always think he puts an effort in. I know people will say I'm a bit blinded by that because of his passion, but then we talk about people like Noble and his passion, so why should it be any different for Adrian? But in fairness, Fabianski did all right. I know it sounds ironic. We got beat by 4, but Fabianski made sure it wasn't a cricket score. And he actually did all right, and he tried his best to command his defence. You got to remember, it's his first game with new players around him. He's got to get used to the defenders. Defenders have got to get used to him as well. But he did okay. He did okay.
Still,
so I can't see why.
I got a little bit of deja vu though when you made that comment there. He prevented us from having a cricket score, because I feel like that's all we've been saying for the last 3 seasons. I'm trying my best to stay positive, and I'm going to stay positive, but it is true. We have had goalkeepers that have prevented cricket scores rather than that top level of or whatever. But anyway, let's progress. I mean, I'm not going to go on about this all night. I believe Fabianski is going to start, so we'll move straight into the defensive issues. That was one man we can talk about in particular, and we'll work our way through the defence. But starting with the left-hand side, Masuaku. Cresswell is not fit, and even if he was fit, do you think, Richard, that Masuaku would be dropped and Cresswell would start, or do you think Masuaku is starting this game?
I think Masuaku is going to start, personally. As you mentioned before we came on air, you said that even if Cresswell was fit, you think that Pellegrini would start with Masuaku because we're not playing against Liverpool. We're playing against a Bournemouth side that, if we control the game and have possession, Masuaku won't have to worry too much about his defensive abilities. To be fair to him, he's not a left back. He's been thrown in there. Cresswell's obviously injured, so he's gone to Liverpool. He's had to play left back. Personally, I don't think he had the worst game. A lot of fans would disagree with me, but I think he's decent. He's got good ball playing ability. Defensive wise, he's very dodgy, as everyone can see. But I'm hoping that we have a lot of the ball and he can overlap with the likes of Anderson on the left hand side, put in some crosses, and when Cresswell is fit, Cresswell can slot back in and Masuaku can play further up the pitch. Yeah.
Straight to you still with that one.
Well, we all agree. I don't think there's a West Ham fan around that will say Masuaku's a defender. So we all agree on that. And he is in the team by default. I honestly think that even if he does well, as soon as Cresswell's fit, Cresswell will come back into the team. Because, you kind of alluded to it, Anton. We were dodgy in defence on Sunday. It needs to be the reason why Pellegrini plays a high line is because he expects his defenders to do what defenders are meant to do. Masuaku wasn't the only culprit in not playing the system that Pellegrini wants to adopt, but he was pretty awful. I'm sorry, Rich, but two of the goals came from that side of the pitch, and sorry, well, not debatable, fact, mate, fact. But he's not defender, and it's interesting, to say that, if when Creswell comes back, Masuaku can play further upfield. Where's he going to play? We've got Anderson, and unless Anderson gets injured, I can't see why Masuaku will play unless we're chasing a game and we want to attack more and stuff like that. Maybe then, but it's not just Masuaku's fault. But I'm despite how bad Creswell's played the last few seasons, I actually can't wait for him to come back and slot into that.
Yeah, and on that still, I think I said earlier on that when Pellegrini joined, I could see players. I actually thought he was going to keep Kouyaté in the end, but he didn't. But the other player I did mention that he was going to try and work with was going to be Creswell, because he is a talented left back, left wing, or whatever you want to call him. But he's predominantly a left back. He is talented, and he's going to bring him on. So when he is fit, I do believe through time he will start, but he's not just now. And what I think the point I was trying to get across was Masuaku is fit. If Creswell was to start sneaking into the team just now, would he start against Bournemouth? And I don't think Creswell would start against Bournemouth either way, because I think Pellegrini, within reason, is going to play this high line defence again. I don't believe in any format that he's going to change that high line. He's going to go in with the same tactics. Within reason, I think he's going to change some of the forward line, but I think he is going to start quite close to a similar back line. We've talked about Masuaku. It's a debate that could go on forever, but we know he's probably going to start, unless Pellegrini shocks us and brings Antonio into the left back position, because he's got used to the right back position.
There is only one other player that he may well bring in as a left back, a makeshift left back, and I mentioned this before in one of our other shows, is Zabaleta.
Yeah.
If he wants it to be really strong, who better whilst Creswell is out? If he did decide to drop Masuaku, he could bring Zabaleta in as a makeshift left back. It's possible.
Yeah, I suppose it's interesting. Another couple of players we talk about. Fredericks, we rarely spoke about in the review. For me personally, I think it might take time for him to grow into the Premier League. He's fast. He was maybe caught out of position a few times. But the centre half pairing, and there's a couple of players sitting on the bench. You've got a mixture of Diop, Ogbonna, Balbuena. Is he going to make any changes? I suppose still start with you with this one. What was your opinion on the partnership? Yes, it's the first game, but what was your opinion on an overview taking of that?
It wasn't great. There are actually too many. The irony, we've been crying out for new players, but the irony is we had 3 new players in the back line on Sunday. We had a new keeper, we had a new right back, and we had a new centre back. That's going to take time. It doesn't matter how many pre-seasons you have. In pre-season he was actually swapping Diop and Balbuena. They're both getting starts, and as much as I think Balbuena should have started, I'm actually surprised that he didn't pick Diop. I thought he would have done, but maybe he thought that was going to be a bit too lightweight, because I think what we all kind of see in Balbuena is he's a bit of a tough nut, and he's going to get his foot in, he ain't going to mind, so I don't know if he'll change it. If he does change anything, he might bring Zabaleta in along the back somewhere, and he might bring Diop in, but I'm just not sure if he's going to want to keep changing
rotating,
it again. Yeah.
And I agree with you. I think he's going to definitely give it a few games with similar players, and then at that stage we'll start to. I think it might be 3 or 4 games in when we start to see the real side that Pellegrini, the real, select, like who is his go-to players for certain fixtures, etc. I think we all probably know that. Let's move into the midfield. Players like Snodgrass, who were favoured in pre-season, got his chance against Liverpool. Antonio, not the greatest of performances. Anderson's debut. Yarmolenko came off the bench. Richard, what are you thinking about our midfield? Or we'll tie in the midfield and attacking prowess as well at the same time. You've got Wilshere, Noble, Rice, Arnautovic, Hernandez. Perez. I mean, there's players there.
Okay, well, quickly going back to Masuaku just for a second. I could see him working as a winger, and Anderson could play on the right where Antonio was. That's just my opinion. I could see that working. But in terms of our midfield, I'm excited by Jack Wilshere. I really am. He looks like he's up for it. He looks hungry. Declan Rice, I think he was a bit unlucky to be taken off against Liverpool. I don't think he was that bad. Personally, I would have taken off Noble before I took off Rice. It's going to be interesting to see where Noble fits in this season. Pellegrini said that whenever Noble plays, he'll be the captain. But I honestly don't see Pellegrini starting Noble much this season. I really don't. As far as the wings go, I'd like to see Yarmolenko start. I think he showed a lot of promise against Liverpool. He's a tricky player. He can get crosses in. Very excited about Felipe Anderson. I've already seen enough in that Liverpool game to show me that he's got pace, he's got skill, he's going to be a real player for us. And then Arnautovic up front, I think he's going to bang in goals. I reckon Bournemouth's going to be the day. I think he's going to grab 2. I think that's going to be the day he just unlocks himself and he shows us what he's all about again from last season.
Over to you, Stell. I suppose one area we should concentrate on is the Noble Rice Wilshere middle of the park. Will Pellegrini go into this game with the same tactics?
I don't think he'll go into this game with the same personnel, but he'll go into the game with the same tactics, yeah.
And who do you think he's going to swap in and swap out?
I think Obiang will start. I was with you when I was watching the game, Rich. I didn't quite understand why Rice got taken off. But then when I saw quite a lot of the post-match analysis, I could understand it because I think it was highlighted on Match of the Day or something like that, where Noble was kind of isolated on his own as defensive midfield, and Rice kept sort of drifting away, kept getting caught out, sort of going to the ball rather than holding his ground. So I guess I can understand why Rice may have been taken off. So it's still a learning curve for Rice.
Yeah.
But I also agree with you, Rich, that I don't think Noble will start that many games once we get this season really up and running. But I think Pellegrini's got a bit of a dilemma because the irony is we all said at the end of last season one of the areas to strengthen was defensive midfield, and we haven't bought a defensive midfielder apart from Sanchez, and he hasn't come with a great reputation. But I'm just wondering now how many games Sanchez might actually start. I think once he's up and running, Noble will be dropped for the likes of Sanchez, because Sanchez is a natural holding midfielder. And I think this is the dilemma that Pellegrini's got. With Wilshere, we said it again in, I think, one of our chats. Wilshere works great when he's got other creative people around him. But when he's isolated, he can get a bit lost. And he did show a lot of potential on Saturday. But and we were saying, the irony, Lanzini, if Lanzini was fit, him and Wilshere in the centre of the park with Obiang or a defensive midfielder sitting just behind them would be brilliant. Absolutely ideal. Yeah. So I think there will be changes. I actually think Obiang will start. I think he'd probably start for in place of Rice. But I think Noble will start. And I think Yarmolenko will start as well. Yarmolenko and Anderson. Because Antonio, and I know a lot of people saying, we're making him a scapegoat. Antonio's not been right for quite some time. And some of my mates that went to the game said that he was carrying a lot of weight. Not so much overweight, but he's heavy. Yeah. He's got a lot of muscle.
Muscle man.
And because he relies on pace, kicking the ball in front of him and running after it, you can't do that when you're sort of carrying too much timber. So there will be changes. Sorry, I'm ranting.
No, that's not bad. At least someone needs to take over from Luke sometimes. One thing I noticed from the Liverpool game, yes, it was against Liverpool, but was the isolation of Arnautovic up top. Again, something that I don't like to see. Maybe this isn't going to happen against Bournemouth, but is that something we should worry about, Richard, with the isolation of our forwards up front? Or was that because we had a fantastic side of Liverpool we were playing against?
I think it's the latter. We're playing against a brilliant side in Liverpool. Look at Arnie last season. He played as a sole striker, and that didn't stop him from banging in the goals. And now he's got even more creativity behind him and on the wings. So I honestly think that Pellegrini will stick with Arnie up front. I don't see him playing two up front. I think he'll bring the likes of Perez and Chicharito off the bench if need be. But I honestly think one striker suits the way we're going to play, because you've got so much creativity in behind on Arnautovic. That they can just supplement him and feed him whenever he needs. And he had two half chances against Liverpool. Arnie in his prime would probably hit the target and make the keeper do something. He blazed the shots. The one was a corner, took a deflection, fair to him. But I think we'll play one up front, and I reckon Anderson and Yarmolenko are going to have a lot to say with how many goals Arnie gets this season.
Yeah.
But I don't think Pellegrini's going to change much. I honestly don't. I think he might make 2 changes max from the Liverpool game. I don't think he's going to throw in the towel because of one bad performance. I think he's going to,
And I do agree with you, Richard, and I think those two, it doesn't sound like much, but I think it is actually quite a lot, because I think we feel like we're maybe like so close to producing the side that we're looking for on the park, but changing these two particular players, or two particular players in this side, could make a massive difference.
Absolutely.
All we need to look at is the quality that Yarmolenko has. And we've seen that with the several, 10 odd minutes that he had on the park, when he could just pinpoint the ball into the box out of nothing from the outside of his boot. That quality is what can change someone's season or confidence, putting it on the player's head. Like you said, Rich, you're confident enough that Arnautovic is going to get 2 goals, and it could be hopefully from an assist from Yarmolenko, because I think still yourself and myself both kind of said that he's going to be one of the standout assists.
Yeah,
our prediction was he's going to be one of the standout assists, and after his quality,
I think he's going to. I think once he's up and running, he's going to be an excellent. But I think he will outshine Anderson. I genuinely do, and that might be because he might be more accustomed to, because he's played in Germany and etc. He might be more accustomed to the sort of the English style of football, whereas Anderson might take him a while to really get to grips. So I think Anderson will do well, but I think it might take him a while to really get to grips with it. But it's interesting that you say maybe he'll only start with one up front, because they've got quite a lot of attacking talent. I could also see, we mentioned a minute ago about Wiltshire being sort of isolated in midfield. No reason why Hernandez can't start and Arnautovic playing that number 10 role with almost alongside Wiltshire. That I reckon that could work as well.
That could work, yeah.
Because if you think of last season, when Lanzini was playing like off Arnautovic, they were doing really well just before Lanzini got injured in last season. So
Absolutely.
That's another possibility. It's another option that Pellegrini's got,
and it's a great option. Again, I'm his biggest fan, but you look at Hernandez. I think a lot of fans and a lot of people have said that when you come to West Ham, you need to show your work rate. But when you get a specific player who's got a specific talent and quality, who is designed to do one job and one job only, you don't want the Chicharitos coming back and defending for you. In my opinion, I'm not bothered really about someone his size coming back to help the team in defence. You want him to be in the right place at the right time and getting those goals. And with the likes of the attacking prowess that we've potentially got on our side, to put people like him and give Arnautovic that free role. I mean, if I was Arnautovic and I knew that I had another player who would just hang about up in that box and I can do what I want anyway, like that's an exciting prospect for me. That's something I was desperate for last season. We never got much of it. Adding to that, we've got all this new midfield attacking pace down the wings. That's something that definitely does excite me. But we're not Pellegrini. We're just 3 guys who like to do a YouTube channel and let everyone know what our opinion is. So it'll be interesting. I think one thing we did talk about Antonio. Realistically, is he going to start still?
No. If Yarmolenko's not fit enough, Snodgrass will start over Antonio.
Yeah.
But I think Yarmolenko will be. If Yarmolenko wasn't fit, he wouldn't. Pellegrini wouldn't have risked putting him on.
Yeah.
On Sunday. So I think Yarmolenko will be fit. I think we'll see Antonio on the bench, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, realistically, we don't have a huge amount more to talk about with this preview. Before we get on to our predictions, Stel and Richard, do you have anything else you want to say with regards to the game on Saturday?
I just think with Arnautovic, he's one of his best attributes is his physicality, and that's where Chicharito isn't that type of player. So I could see a relationship working where Arnautovic is furthest forward and Chicharito is just behind him, because you look at how he played for Mexico in the World Cup. He loved dropping deep, and players are running in behind him. So maybe that could work. I just think part of Arnie being so good is the fact that he hassles defenders. He's so strong. He's got pace. I would want him leading my line if I was Pellegrini. I really would, because he's different class when he's running at players, when he's strong in the air, putting defenders under pressure constantly. So for me, Arnie has to start up top. That's just me. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Any last points you want to make, Stel?
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can understand that. It's great that we actually have enough options, proper options this season. You know, and so long as Pellegrini uses Hernandez properly and uses him enough, I think Hernandez will be happy. Even if Hernandez doesn't start that many games, I think it's important to keep Hernandez happy, because we don't want a Hernandez like last season where he got to halfway through the season and wanted to leave. Not much more to add really. I think the most interesting part of the pitch that Pellegrini's got a decision to make is what we talked about, the centre of the park, who he's going to pick there. Because I think most of the team at the moment kind of picks itself. You know, he could mess around with defence. He could tweak it up front, but it's quite crucial what he does in the middle of the park.
Let us know your opinions. Get your comments in below. Let us know what you think, what Pellegrini's going to do, what setup he's going to have, what players you want in, what players you want out. Do you disagree with what Richard said on Masuaku? Do you disagree with what Stel said on Mark Noble and Antonio? Get those points in, let us know. Make sure you like our channel. We are going to come back and do our predictions. Before we do, keep an eye out for our first video we're going to have coming out from the Supporters Club, which is going to be the review video of the Bournemouth game. We are obviously partnering up with the official West Ham United Supporters Club this year, so we'll have some videos shot from inside the club, and we're getting lots of West Ham fans' opinions. Again, we're partnered up with Umbro and the best ribs in London, the Rib Man. So get your comments in, make sure you're liking our channel, make sure you are clicking that notification to know when our videos are coming up. And before we go, Richard's predictions for Saturday, 3 PM kickoff, West Ham Bournemouth, on you go.
We're going to win. We're going to win nicely. I reckon 3-1. We will concede a goal. We have it in us to concede. Our defense isn't quite ready. But yeah, we're going to score 3. Arnautovic is going to get 2, and Anderson's going to get his first West Ham goal in the Premier League.
Over to you, Stel. Same question, predictions.
Yeah, same. I think we're going to win 3-1 as well. I think they will score, but it won't be anywhere near as controversial as the way they got their equaliser at their place last season.
Yeah.
But yeah, I reckon we'll win 3-1 as well. Scorers, Arnie will get 1 or 2. I've got a feeling one of our defenders will get a goal. Maybe Balbuena with a.
Yeah, you need to go for your man. You need to go for your man.
Actually, yeah. You know what? That's a good shout, Rich. You know, he should have been Hammer of the Year last season, and he wasn't. And he.
Oh well,
he can come up and do a rocket from a corner. Yeah, why not? Ogbonna and 2 for Arnie. Yeah.
Interesting. Listen, as long as we win, I don't care who scores. If you run on the park naked still and hit a rocket in the bottom corner, I'll take that as long as we get the goal. Anyway,
I'll be arrested, mate. I did.
You'll be the saviour of West Ham if you do that. I'm going to predict a 3-2 victory for West Ham. I think we are going to concede. I think we're going to continue to concede goals this season until we figures out what's happening with the back line. But yeah, I think we're going to score enough goals, and hopefully this will be kickstart our season. And I think it will be a mixture of opinions coming out after the game. I think we'll be positive because we'll get our first victory, but there'll still be teething issues, which is always expected with several new signings. But Richard has predicted, and Stell both have predicted 3-1. Make sure you get your predictions in below. Let us know what your feelings are. I've predicted a 3-2 victory. It's exciting times at West Ham, hopefully. Let's hope that we are not feeling so negative after a terrible defeat at the weekend. We were up against what we believe are going to be championship challengers. So let's just be positive, West Ham fans. Get behind our side. Sing bubbles. Have a few, jars of whatever,
a few number threes, if you remember from
a few
last season, right?
Yeah, a few number threes or number sevens. It's that. So there's a place very local to the stadium that Stell likes to frequent quite a few times, and the drinks are under certain numbers. So this is what we're referencing. Anyway, we're not going to bore you anymore. We're Irons United. He's been Richard. He's been Stell. I've been Anton. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.